Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Elliot Grigg, which means we are in preview mode. As you can see in the title of this video, we are in preview mode for Sonny Edwards against Galal Yafai, November 30th at the Resorts World and Casino in Birmingham. But before we get into the video, Elliot, as always, if you're new to the channel and maybe don't subscribe already, well, why not? Get amongst it, hit that subscribe button, and we've got you covered from all angles. We've got all your boxing needs under one roof. Plenty of content coming your way almost daily. So, and as well, please do like this video and drop us a comment as to what you're about to watch, and let us know your thoughts on what we're going to discuss. Elliot, we don't like to go through the tail of the tape. We don't like to kind of ponder too much about our predictions and how we see the fight playing out until right at the end. Kind of like to ask maybe more rounded questions. So for this one, Sonny Edwards, Galal Yafai, yes, we'll come on to a prediction at the end of the video. So please, guys watching, do stay tuned for that. But what I want to know is, come Sunday morning, the 1st of December, do you believe that the winner of Sonny Edwards, Galal Yafai is the man, the number one flyweight in the world, now that Jesse Bam Rodriguez is no longer at flyweight?
Very tough question. First of all, Paul, thank you very much for having me. Delighted to be here as always. I think, tough question. I think, to be honest with you, you might have to say yes. I mean, it's quite a bleak division, I think, in some ways, especially now Bam's moved up. I almost feel like Bam versus Sonny was the fight for who's the best in the division. And Bam obviously proved that fairly emphatically. So for me, if Galal Yafai wins, in some ways you're a bit reluctant to say it because obviously, he hasn't had too many pro fights. So he was looking at it going, can I say that man's, the sort of best in the division with the sort of record he has? Seems a bit, maybe a bit of a reach. But at the same time, if Sonny wins, I don't see there's anyone else really, if he wins quite well, I don't think there's anyone else really in that division that's as good as him, frankly. Especially now Bam's moved up. I make Sonny Edwards number one in the division quite comfortably. But I think this would be a good victory here. That should be a good way to showing that. But I think, I suppose you'd have to caveat it by saying that if he looks good and he loses, maybe you've got to give Galal Yafai that respect. But I kind of can see the point, but I more just think, Sonny Edwards is number one in the division, especially now Bam's gone up. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think Bam against Sonny Edwards was kind of the number one against the number two. That was the general consensus. As you mentioned, Bam kind of won emphatically, and has gone on to do amazing things at super flyweight since. Like if you just look at his run there as well, I mean, arguably one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world now, even top five, despite being just 24 years old. But yeah, I think now that he's no longer at 112 and he's up at 115 pounds, you look at it and you think, there's probably names that we maybe aren't so familiar with, but I think Sonny Edwards is definitely number one for me. I think if you look at even the people that do have the belts, I would back Sonny Edwards to beat them all without knowing loads and extensively about them. But I think Sonny Edwards, he's just such a tricky customer, isn't he, as well, his style and stuff. Unless, he was fighting someone, there is a Bam on the up at flyweight that we don't maybe know about yet. I have Sonny Edwards at number one. So then, you've got to say then, yeah, despite he's only had 8 fights, if Galal Yafai was to win this, then you kind of have to put him at number one, don't you? Because I suppose that's how it works. If you have Sonny Edwards at number one already, and then he loses to someone who's well down the pecking order right now because of the amount of fights he had, well, then, do you know what? You got a new number one. So I think, for me, yes, the winner of this fight is the new number one, even if that is Galal Yafai, despite the maybe inexperience. But I suppose he had an extensive amateur career. He was an Olympic gold medalist, Galal Yafai. So I think it's one of them where he's been fast tracked in the pros. And I think, is it fair to say that it's maybe easier to fast track in those divisions than it would be, at a middleweight or a super middle or heavyweight or whatever, potentially. So yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think the number one at the minute, Sonny Edwards. If he wins, he retains that without obviously having a world title belt. He needs to get one of those again. But if Galal Yafai wins, then he is as well. I mentioned amateur experience there from Galal Yafai. Sonny Edwards didn't have a huge amateur career, but they actually fought in the amateurs. As I'm sure people know, there's been a bit of a narrative about that going into this fight. Galal Yafai lost that fight to Sonny Edwards. Sonny Edwards won via split decision over 3 rounds back in 2015, so 9 years ago now. Do you read anything into that at all, Elliot? Maybe, if not, skill-wise and kind of how the fight will go, but even mentality-wise, the fact that Sonny Edwards goes, yeah, it was 3 rounds, but I've already beaten you.
Tough one, because I think, to be honest, I think both guys can take something from it. Like, if you're Galal Yafai, you look at it and go, look, Sonny Edwards only beat me by a split decision. Look at the career he's had. world champion lost to Bam Rodriguez, whatever. So I must be good, sort of thing, like it's to that sort of stepping stone. Sonny Edwards, again, you look at it, go, I've kind of beaten you, but again, it was close. So you've not done it necessarily convincingly. So, well, you've not done it handsomely. You may have done it convincingly, but not necessarily handsomely. So I think both men can take positives from it, frankly. I expect both men probably will, but equally, I suppose in the back of their mind, they'll be going, that's a long, long time ago, frankly. And look at like Sonny Edwards has had, what, 21, 22 fights at the pros. Galal fights have, what, 8? So not got the experience of Sonny Edwards. So for me, Sonny Edwards obviously a very different fighter possibly than he was back then. Galal fights to a degree, but I think, both will probably play on it and both will obviously take the positives out of it for themselves. But I personally don't think you can read too much into it, other than the fact that at one point it was close, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, not for me, even though I think they'll try and use it for their psychological edge either way.
Yeah, I think both will probably try and use it. Like Sonny Edwards will use it in the sense that I've already beaten you, I can do it again. Galal Yafai will probably think I lost that narrowly. Maybe he might even believe he won that himself. He's gone on to win a gold medal. Sonny Edwards didn't achieve that, and the amateurs didn't get in the GB Olympic squad. Do you know what I mean? So he might think that he only beat me because I was only a 22-year-old kid at that stage. Whereas now, I suppose you could say from Sonny Edwards' point of view, he was even younger. He was what, like 19, 20 at that time. So, yeah, I think both can look into it. But I agree with you, your sentiments, Elliot. I'm not looking too much into it, at all. Like we see how many times have we seen fighters who have fought in the amateurs who go into the pros, and it's like just nothing to do with it. The one that springs to mind is Joshua Dylan White. Remember Dylan White had a win over AJ in the amateurs, and like look how that ended for him in the pros. And Dylan White, do you know what I mean? It ended with him lying almost unconscious through the ropes. So I'm not going to say that's happened in this fight. I don't think that'll be the case between Sonny Edwards and Galal Yafai, but yeah, doesn't always play out the same way from the amateurs to the pros. We have come to the end of the video, which means it's prediction time, Elliot. Tell me where your mind's at for this one. Do you think Sonny Edwards wins this, or do you think Galal Yafai pulls off the upset and has the scalp of Sonny Edwards to his impressive resume?
I'm not actually seeing the betting odds for this, so I'm not sure how close the bookies have it. But for me, I think, mate, to be honest, I can't sit here really and bet against Sonny Edwards, given like the sort of the experience that he has, frankly, and obviously like I lost to Bam, but Bam's looking at going to be a generational great, isn't he? He's going to be a sort of first ballot Hall of Famer already. So no real disrespect there. I think for me, it just comes down to possibly the experience maybe that he might have over Galal Yafai. But the Galal Yafai is obviously, he's not necessarily fought guys that with the sort of record or even the names, I suppose, that Sonny Edwards has, but he stopped guys. He also got 6 stoppages in 8, so he obviously carries power. Sonny doesn't have that. So for me, it comes down to, can Sonny Sonny outbox him for a points victory, or could Galal Yafai actually get to him? Like, could he get to him at some point? I can, to be honest, I can make a case for both. I really can make a fairly convincing case for both. But I think if I have to get off the fence, I'll lean over to the Sonny Edwards side of the fence. I think Sonny Edwards might lean this one on points, frankly.
Yeah, I'm going Sonny Edwards as well, mate. I think we will probably have Galal Yafai backers, but I think that's very brave. We could have egg on our face come the preview next week. And we will, and which, do you know what, we've had it plenty of times before. We'll hold our hands up and say we were wrong if that is the case. But yeah, I agree. I think Sonny Edwards is still the man here. And yeah, no, that doesn't mean to say that Galal Yafai won't go on and become world champion at flyweight. I think he will. But at this moment right now, I think Sonny Edwards still wins this fight. Like you said, points. I think he'll navigate it on points, win fairly comfortably, kind of frustrate Galal Yafai. That's the way I'm seeing it right now. So yeah, it's an interesting one, guys. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on this fight. Do you think Galal Yafai could have the scalp of Sonny Edwards on his record and in just 9 fights? Let us know in the comments, or yeah, your general thoughts on the fight and the flyweight slash super flyweight divisions as a whole. As always, hit that subscribe button as well. Drop a like on the video, and we'll speak to you again next week. Elliot, thanks for joining me. See you again soon.